We are 8 people fast.
Call today and turn your small business into a fast business.
We're talking about the TARP assistance program, which I've always maintained has demoralized the economy and also has corrupted its base. And the Inspector General for TARP, one Neil Barofsky, has strongly suggested there are criminal prosecutions coming, and he has already brought some indictments. For some reason, the Treasury Department refused to give him access to key documents and saying now he's not completely independent. On top of that, the White House has fired another Inspector General, Gerald Walpin, who was Inspector General for the AmeriCorps, because he busted a friend of President Obama's, Sacramento Mayor Kevin Johnson, who's a former basketball player. To lead us through all this, we have Noam Scheiber of the New Republic and Jerry Bowyer of CNBC and the National Review. You're both of CNBC. By the way, Noam, you're in the Kudlow caucus, like it or not, and we appreciate it very much. Jerry, you referred to this as Teapot Dome. That's very interesting. Expand on that for me.
Well, look, it's a basic rule of public choice theory. The bigger the government, the bigger the program, the more monopolistic, the more likely it is that you're going to have corruption. And you add to that the degree of discretion that the bureaucrat has. In other words, if Congress writes a law that says give this amount of money to this institution, that's one thing. But if bureaucrats have wide sway, then what you have is a recipe for enormous amounts of corruption. So we've got TARP plus stimulus, plus very large spending bills into the multiple $1 trillion and enormous amounts of discretion. TARP, basically, there's no limit on who you can give TARP money to. You can give it to a car company, you can give it to a bank, you can give it to a city, you can give it to a county, a state. Once you get that kind of discretion and that size, and in addition, you start silencing the transparency.
Hang on a second.
When you get that, then you get monster-sized corruption.
No, these IGs, Inspector Generals, are put in expressly to stop this kind of waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption. Now, I do not understand this. What possible motive? This is a gigantic political mistake, and it may also be a huge financial mistake by Team Obama. They are crushing down on Barofsky, the TARP Inspector General. They wouldn't give him the documents. Senator Charles Grassley had to write a letter and call everybody on the carpet. I'm sure he'll get some relief. And then the second one, Noam, Gerald Walpin, who was the AmeriCorps TARP, he busted Sacramento Mayor Kevin Johnson, okay, an Obama supporter. He got fired for that. And finally, Johnson had to settle up for $424,000. Now, Noam, you got to admit, this does have a little Teapot Dome corruption smacking.
Look, a couple of points on the AmeriCorps Inspector General. I just don't see the political interest here at all. I mean, what normally happens to Inspector General reports outside of something like TARP, which is obviously sensitive politically, is the Inspector General files it, sends it to Congress, whoever. They sit around and they collect dust. The only time they get attention
on the Kudlow Report.
The only time, the only time it really happens is if you do something like fire
Mr. Johnson is a political supporter of Barack Obama, and the head of AmeriCorps, the chairman of the board of directors, who was also criticized, is a big fundraiser for Barack Obama. So you can't see the political importance of the White House firing the Inspector General?
You're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I'm saying that tactically, if you're thinking about this in a kind of, there's a conspiracy at work here, right?
Yes,
what's your move? Do you fire a guy for political reasons and draw all sorts of attention to it?
No.
Have him go to Congress?
That's what you do. Because you send a message to every other Inspector General, lay off Obama's friends.
If they fire Barofsky, everyone's going to go nuts.
No, but of course they're not.
Firing this chap Walpin, I think that was a really bad political mistake. I really do. I got to get out, gentlemen. I got to get out. You're very nice to Friday. I just don't know why they fired him. These are protectors of the public fist.
That's why they fired him.
All right, Noam Scheiber, Jerry Bowyer. We may talk about this more next week. I think these stories are both very much alive. We are the Kudlow Report. Catch me Monday morning on the call, 11 a.m. with Trish and Melissa, and we'll be right back tonight.